This season has been a wild one for football fans. There's been a lot of change, surprises and drama. Across all the top 5 leagues, there's been new title contenders, superstars and talking points everywhere you look. And amidst the chaos, some players have really pushed themselves into the limelight. If we look at a graph of the best performing players this season, we can really see how remarkable some of the talent has been. On the y-axis, we have the FootMob rating of the top 10 rated players in each of the top 5 European leagues. And on the x-axis, well, we'll get to that. Surprisingly, the lowest rated of the bunch are all Serie A players. But this doesn't mean the Italian league is the weakest. It might even credit how well-rounded and competitive it actually is. As you continue upwards, you get the main cluster of players that have all been amazing this season. Names like Bellingham, Lewandowski and Fernandes won't surprise you. But other players like Mbermo, Gravenberch and Xhaka have all been exceptional as well. Liga gets a lot of stick for the quality of the league, but this season they've hosted some real talent, like Shirky, Santos and Neves, just to name a few. But as you really rise to the top, you find the best players in the world right now. Names like Pedri, Kane, Rafinha and Dembele. But even more impressive than these historic seasons are 2 players who are the only couple to achieve an average FootMob rating of 8 or above in their domestic league. You can probably guess who one of them is. Mohamed Salah, who has broken record after record on his way to another Premier League title and undoubtedly been the most productive player in world football. But in his elite company, Lamine Yamal. In just his second legitimate season, Barcelona's wonder kid has been one of, if not the best player in the world. And the reason he's all the way over on the left is because the x-axis, if you haven't worked it out already, is age. That's right, Yamal has exploded to the highest heights of world football before he can legally drive a car in Spain. Don't get me wrong, there's an abundance of young talent this season. Just look at the concentration towards the left of the graph. But Yamal's a whole 3 years younger than the next youngest player here. The 17-year-old has been so special this season. The only player who you can even try and compare him to was another left-footed La Masia right winger. Okay, you're gonna have to hear me out, because I promise you I'm not declaring Yamal the next Messi. But if you look a bit deeper, there are similarities. And moreover, I think they can shine light on what might be in store for Yamal and his potential legendary career. Both Messi and Yamal came through the heralded Barcelona La Masia Academy, and both broke through into the first team during times of uncertainty for the Spanish club. In 2004, Barcelona were at the tail end of a 5-year trophyless drought, the longest in club history in over 70 years. The departure of Figo to Real Madrid created a void in the team, and despite the lineup looking strong, their performances were poor and the club was unstable. While Messi's early impact came more off the bench, he brought hope to the club and sparked a fire in Ronaldinho, who took the role of Messi's mentor. Messi's first full season was 2005-06, which resulted in a dominant La Liga Champions League double. Messi wasn't the best player on the team, but his impact on the team morale was undeniable. If anything, Yamal's first season was even more impressive. His first full campaign was just last year, and at just 16 he played 50 games in all competitions. Barcelona were runners-up in the league and the Super Cup, as well as making the quarterfinals in the Champions League and the Copa del Rey. While this was below their trophy standards, it was a more consistent and structured season compared to previous years. The club built more of an identity, and more importantly, it set up for a textbook Barcelona season the following year. But comparing Yamal to the greatest of all time is a bit of a stretch. I mean, he's 17, so let's look at how he weighs up against his peers in today's game. Reaching the top level is of course every footballer's dream, but to do it at a young age sets up for a long and successful career, as we've seen so many times before. Here we have some of the best modern attackers in terms of their Man of the Match awards, but the catch? Only in their first 3 full seasons. This graphic highlights the players that became the best, the quickest, and while many great players have found their next gear later into their career, this really shows who burst onto the scene and dominated in their teens. The further up and left of the line you are, the more Man of the Matches you receive per game. So while Salah's 17 Man of the Match awards in his first 3 seasons was impressive, Dembele's 14, for example, was done in nearly half as many games. Regardless, every attacker on this graph was making noise in their respective league. Some players like Martinez and Vinicius were more utilised off the bench, which explains their position on the left. They were young, raw talents, but still offered a lot of firepower to their South American teams. Some players took a bit longer to get the ball rolling, like Rashford, De Jong and Jota, but several Man of the Match awards are still impressive achievements in their early seasons. On the flip side, players like Sancho and Depay flew out the blocks, but have seen a bit more stability to their progress throughout their careers. Now you might be thinking, Yamal's only in the middle of the pack, what's so impressive here? But compared to every single other player on the graph having played 3 full seasons, Yamal hasn't even finished his second. If we use his man of the match to game ratio to project his tally by the end of next season, he's comfortably up there with Mbappe and Haaland as one of the best teenagers ever. Not only this, but some of the players on the graph enjoyed their early seasons in lesser leagues or outside Europe, whereas Yamal's 2 seasons have been one of the hardest leagues in the world, with an abundance of talent in every single game. But arguably the most important thing about Yamal is unmeasurable with statistics. And despite the importance of the metrics and how we use them for our arguments, you really need to watch Lamine Yamal to get it. Very rarely do you see someone play with the confidence and swagger that Yamal does. It's almost like he can see the future and knows the legend in store for him. And watching him play is really what reminds me of Messi the most. This season, even when we ignore the 34 and counting goal contributions, he's been special in so many ways. His highlight reel is already an all-time mixtape, and he scored clutch goals in huge moments like clockwork. Weak-footed daggers at the Bernabeu, defence-slicing Trivelas from the halfway line, last-minute winners against league rivals. Yamal's put together a season that really has it all, and coming off an impressive Euros victory with Spain, his confidence has clearly translated to his domestic game. While it's only early May at the time of recording, Barca are in a prime position to win the treble, a feat they haven't managed since 2015. And most importantly, he's made everyone fall in love with Barcelona again. Having a generational La Masia right winger, a seasoned international striker, and an electric Brazilian left winger just seems to be the blueprint. I mean, this isn't the first time Barca has succeeded with this formula. The front line from Barca's 2006 Champions League winning season was truly something special. On the left, the magic Ronaldinho dazzled with his trademark flair, tricks, and ability to light up any stadium. Leading the line was Cameroonian striker Samuel Eto'o, who finished as the club's top scorer with 34 goals, including a crucial strike in the Champions League final. And on the right, a young Argentine La Masia graduate who you might have heard of, Lionel Messi, was just beginning to show glimpses of the greatness to come. And if you thought that front line was scary, I'm sure you remember the iconic MSN trio that lit up Europe under Luis Enrique. This is the front line most fans picture when they think of prime Barcelona, a perfect combination of individual talent and unspoken chemistry. It's a front three that will always be remembered as one of the most terrifying attacks the game's ever seen. And once again, that same pattern appears. A Brazilian left winger, a striker from an underrepresented footballing nation, and a La Masia right winger, now one of the best footballers in the world. But despite this interesting pattern, success hasn't always come easily for Barcelona. And after the sad farewell to Neymar, Suarez, and eventually Messi, there was a massive void to be filled. The post-MSN era quickly turned into one of Barcelona's darkest. In an aim to replace the almost irreplaceable, Barca turned to a new era of elite players to guide them forward. Ousmane Dembele, Philippe Coutinho, and Antoine Griezmann each arrived at Barcelona having already proven themselves elsewhere. And while all three have enjoyed varying degrees of success both before and after their time at the club, their stints at the Camp Nou are widely regarded as underwhelming, with many agreeing that they were some of the most high-profile flops in Barca's modern history. Dembele's stint was arguably the most disappointing, but not because of his performances on the pitch. It was actually the opposite. He endured injury after injury which kept him sidelined for almost 800 days across 6 frustrating seasons. When you compare this to his availability at Dortmund and PSG, it's night and day, which makes you question Barcelona's medical team and if it had anything to do with it. Coutinho and Griezmann's stories at Barca followed a similar trajectory, but for slightly different reasons. Both arrived as high-profile signings. Coutinho from Liverpool and Griezmann from Atletico Madrid. They carried a lot of pressure, and despite their proven quality, neither managed to meet the high expectations set for them at the Camp Nou. Often deployed out wide, far from their preferred central roles, neither looked comfortable playing in a system that failed to play to their strengths. Ultimately, both became symbols of Barcelona's misguided transfer strategy, world-class players brought in for huge fees, but never given the platform to succeed. After years of frustration and underwhelming big-money signings, Barcelona fans were left longing for the stability and identity of the past, particularly the golden era built around homegrown talent. The turn of the 2023-24 season welcomed Hansi Flick, and a reformed board outlook, which brings us to the modern day. Now, the team's core is focused around their young academy players like Pedri, Gavi, Lopez, Cabasi and more. While Barcelona have always had young Spanish players in their squad, only this season are the majority of their outfield starters made up of homegrown La Masia stars. To complement them, the board have opted for more environmental employments, like the Championship Rafinha and the aging Lewandowski. Flick's brought a clear playing identity, with directness and pace, which has made Barcelona not only deadly at any moment, but an absolute joy to watch. It's no coincidence that other successful clubs across Europe have also been built in the same way. If you look at Enrique's PSG or Arteta's Arsenal, you can see a clear identity in their team and a prominent focus on playing through their academy talents, like Barcola and Doué or Saka and Lewis Skelly. Both teams, Arsenal especially, enjoyed years and years of disappointment, but trusting their manager and homegrown players has led to the most exciting forms of success. This philosophy of club building differs massively from teams like Real Madrid, Man United and even the PSG Galacticos a few years ago, who are much more focused on club finances and buying the biggest superstar names possible. Even though these teams still experience success, the feeling around the club is just different. And even though they won the odd trophy in their transitional period, Barcelona playing beautiful football through young Spanish talent is the DNA of the club, and the reason that everyone regards them as footballing heritage. Team spirit isn't just cliche, it's a competitive edge. It shows up in late comebacks, in unwavering belief, and in the way teams bounce back after setbacks. And in today's footballing landscape, where tactics are meticulously planned and margins are razor thin, that invisible bond, that team spirit, might just be the thing that differentiates good and great sides. And at the forefront of that is Lamine Yamal. At just 17 years old, he's everything Barcelona fans could have ever wished for and more. He's already established himself as one of the best players in the world right now, and the next Ballon d'Or ceremony might just have something to say about that. But if we look into the past, and then into the future, we might have some clues to help us understand how great Lamine Yamal might actually become.